Hello, this is episode 2 of Cool Things You Can Play on Guitar. Today's episode is on Modal Mixture. I'll tell you how to use Modal Mixture to create unique chord progressions and to solo over it. So, firstly, what is Modal Mixture? Modal Mixture is when you use a chord outside of the key that you're in, but borrowed from a different relative key. For example, you could borrow, if you're in C major, you could borrow chords from the C minor, and I'll show you what I did in this example at the beginning. So I was in C sharp major, but I'll transpose these chords to C major so it's easier to follow. So the first chord I used was a C major, which is standard, the one major chord. The next chord is an F7, and if you look at C major, there is no F7 in C major. There's an F major 7, but not an F dominant 7. So what I did was that chord was borrowed from the C melodic minor. Normally, when people borrow the four chord, they usually borrow it from the natural minor scale, so they use the four minor, as seen as in songs like Green Day, "Wake Me Up When September Ends." But this one's slightly different, and they're using the melodic minor, which has the dominant 7 instead of the minor 7. And then it goes to G7, and G7's a pretty cool chord, as that's in both in the major scale and also in the melodic minor scale. So you have the choice of whether to solo over that with melodic minor or just major. Okay, so now that you know how modal mixture works, you just borrow a chord for a different mode. We'll talk about soloing. Soloing for this is actually pretty simple, as I split the chord progression into two halves: the C major, which is C major, and then the F7 and G7, which I did use melodic minor. And despite their fancy sounding name, melodic minor and major are actually really similar. As in, to get to C major to C melodic minor, you just you just make that major third into a minor third, and every other note is the same. So when I'm in the second half of the chord progression, one thing to note is when I'm playing, I'm very cognizant to emphasize the change where if we're in C major, for E, the major third of the C major changes to the D sharp of the melodic minor by emphasizing those two notes with my solo, and that highlights the chord changes and makes you sound like you're playing with the changes.